So today we're breaking down how I color my videos. Most of you guys that have seen my stuff, you guys have either came from Instagram or have seen my stuff here on YouTube. But today I'm going to be breaking down my thought processes on how I color. I'll show you guys first the basic way, and then after I'm going to show you guys how I personally grade. Now, the first thing I want to let you guys know is that the simple way to color grade is free. It's not going to cost you any money. I'm just going to show you how to get an image from log to Rec 709 and some little adjustments that you can make to make your videos look better. Now, for those that are watching this and are a bit more advanced, I'm going to show you guys how I take one of my favorite power grades and I adjust it to get the look that I desire. And I'll put you guys on to some power grades that you may not use already. And I'll link down in the description all the people that I've referenced and the inspiration that I've got from each of them. So with that being said, let's hop straight into Davinci Resolve. So the first thing that you want to do, I'll take this simple clip here. So the first thing I do is I go to the color tab. This is literally the way that I learned. So for all you pro colorists out there, I'm not by any means a pro colorist by trade or anything. So the first thing that I'm going to do is open up my color tab, and now I've picked my hero shot. So in all these shots, there's going to be a hero shot. This is going to be the main shot that you're using for your grade. So this was a wedding I just recently shot a month ago. So the first thing I'm going to do is press Option S about 5 times. This is to make new nodes. So when I label my nodes, I start everything with a noise reduction at the beginning, and I end with my color space transform. And actually, I might add another node. Next, I'm gonna have my white balance, and then after my white balance, I'm gonna make my exposure nodes, and I'm actually gonna make another node here. I'm gonna do 6 nodes. This is gonna be, you know what, I'm gonna do 7 nodes just because why not? So I do a little bit differently than most people when it comes to exposure. I split up my whites and my blacks, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean by that. So the first thing that you want to do is go to your CST, which is your color space transform, and what you're gonna do is drop this on here. So now I know this pop-up screen looks super confusing. When I first got onto Davinci, I thought this was super confusing, but it's super simple. So these 4 settings up here is where you just input your camera setting. Down here, I'll explain, but first, I know that this was filmed on the Sony FX9. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my input color space, and I'm gonna scroll all the way down to where it says Sony S-Gamut 3 Cine. That is the input color space that we have. And as you can see, it's already made a little bit of a difference. This isn't gonna be final. We're gonna go to our input gamma, and we filmed this at S-Log 3. So now you see a big difference. This adds in a lot more of the color. A lot of people may think you're done here, but no. What we're gonna do is output this to Rec 709. Now you may be wondering, why are we outputting the Rec 709? We're outputting the Rec 709 because that is the standard profile on most screens that you see. So then we're gonna go down to Gamma 2.4 for the output gamma. Now, like I said, I'm not a pro colorist. This is what I've seen how to do. So if you ask me, why do I put Gamma 2.4? I have no idea. Just do it. So then we have an image here. So this is flat, and this is after your color space transform. So what you want to do here is have your vector scopes open. You can go through different things like your parade, your waveforms. Waveforms are looking good. Honestly, it's a pretty balanced image as far as exposure goes. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my vector scope, and then I'm gonna go to my white balance. Now, a lot of people may do it just like this, where they'll find the white point in the image and they'll just simply click on it. This didn't honestly make too much of a difference. So let me just reset this. And if there is a white point, sometimes you can pick the wrong white point by going in the shadows, and it messes your image up and makes it super warm. But I believe that this image is already balanced. You could do some more, like for example, you could take the gamma and move it more towards the magenta quadrant and bring in some of that magenta. But as you can see in the vector scope, outside of the greens that are in this area, everything looks pretty normal. So let me actually reset this because I think I honestly really liked how it looked. The next thing that I mess with is my exposure. So what I'll do is go into here, into my curves, and I will click on editable splines. Like try saying that 10 times fast. Editable splines. I'm going to click on this first dot here, and I'm gonna raise this up and create what everyone knows to be as an S-curve, just a simple S-curve. So this S-curve isn't too crazy. Very, very simple S-curve. But what I'm gonna do here is now I'm just gonna adjust them here by themselves. So these are the whites. I think we have pretty good highlights on here. So I can actually decrease this, and then I'll go down to the blacks and I'll do the same just to see how it looks. I kind of like how this looks. Honestly, I do like the moodiness of this. So I'm actually just gonna keep it like that. We were using the dew lens as our lenses, so you can kind of see the circular bokeh behind the image. But as you can see, honestly, this is a pretty good image. This is something that is super simple, and what you can do, I have my LUTs that I have down in the description. If you guys want to get them, you guys can go ahead and get them if you want to. Shameless plug. But what you can do here is you can actually go through all these LUTs, right? So let's go to something with a look to it. As you can see, it looks like my image just got completely cooked. So now if you want to make any adjustments to it, just go over here to your key and turn the gain down as much as possible. And honestly, this just pretty much brings in some saturation to the look. You could turn off the CST and you can kind of see like what it would do on its own if you just had it that way. But sometimes I just have my look at the very end, and let me just bring this all the way down. And I kind of just use it as my own like little saturation. But yeah, we can play through this. I still think it's a little too saturated, so I'll bring this down. This is the simplest way to grade. What I'll do is then I'll add a power grade album, and I'll name this My Power Grades. The reason why you want to do this is because, so let's say you make a grade that you are super happy with. What you want to do is save it. So you can grab a still, you can actually label them. And for example, you can open up your clips and you can go through all the footage you have. So for example, I can go to this clip right here, and I already have a starting point. So what I do is then I just go in and just make adjustments. So for example, the whites are pretty low here, the highlights. We'll bring them up. The shadows are pretty low here. Bring them up to the point where you can see. And yeah, now you have your base grade that you can literally apply to anything. Apply it here. Like you can literally do this throughout your whole entire timeline. So what I'm gonna do now is show you guys the way that I color grade. So I'm not gonna break down every single node in this video. If you guys are interested in something like that, join the Patreon. We're going over the deepest things as far as my filmmaking and behind the scenes and all that, so go check it out over there. I'm gonna go straight into my main power grade. So my main power grade is going to be right here. So this right here is my main power grade. My main nodes are all here. This specific power grade is inspired by Film Vision. I took out a lot of the stuff that he had in it originally, and I made some tweaks to the things that he had in it that I liked. One thing that I really did like as far as his power grade is the initial conversion. So if I were to turn everything off and just show you how this image just builds, you guys will be like, what the heck? Because honestly, it's super cool to see how it works. As you can see, the image is just getting flatter and flatter. So we have our image here, completely flat, Sony S-Log3. What we then do is through his conversion, which was really interesting to me, when I click that first conversion, it's actually crazy. He puts the input space as Rec 2020, Fujifilm F-Log, RE wide gamut, and RE Log 3. I think that the reason he did that was because the dynamic range within S-Log3 may not have given him the colors that he wanted. So under my assumption, he'd go from the conversion, like I showed you. It's pretty much the same process as the first way I showed you. He would get his conversion, color space transform, but he'd put it at the beginning and then combine it with this one here at the end. So if I show you this compound node, I could convert it to Rec 709 and that's what it would look like, but I don't. What I do convert it to is a phantom LUT. So the Phantom LUT that I'm using here is Neutral FX9 Legacy. So what Phantom LUTs are, and I'll leave it down in the description, are LUTs that gives cameras a specific airy look. If you are familiar with airy cameras, these are the leading standard when it comes to color, video, everything. Your favorite movie is probably shot on an airy. So what I do is instead of converting it into Rec 709, I actually convert into the LUT because the LUT already has a Rec 709 conversion in it. It just changes some of the colors. If I turn it on with the Phantom LUT, this is what it looks like. Look at the greens. And then if I turn it on with just the regular conversion, this is how far out it goes. Now look how much more information you get with just putting on the Phantom LUT. You get so much more information in the quadrants. The next thing I do is I go into my exposures, turn on my exposure, then I'll do my white balance, which this image initially didn't really need too much balancing. I just like to shift it more onto this side. It's just preference. Then I'll turn on my whites and I'll turn on my blacks. So now we have an image where I am definitely gonna make some highlights adjustments. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my highlights and I'm actually gonna bring this down to give it kind of that matte finish. One cool thing I saw in a video recently, for those that wanna kind of achieve this this Nike matte black look, what they'll do is they'll go into their blacks and they'll go into the low soft and then they'll increase the low soft. And as you can see, you can look into his jackets in the shadows, it kind of mats out the blacks, as you can see. So look here in the blacks here, this is initial, and this kind of gives it that matte black look. Another way that I achieve that is also in the power grade, the initial power grade, they had this fade node. And this fade node does similar effects, but it does it across the whole entire image. I just love that look. So now here is where we get to where it gets semi-expensive. So for those of you that know, I have Dehancer. Shout out to Dehancer. What I do with my Dehancer is probably a little bit different than what most people do. What I do is I actually turn it on, I go down, and I disable all tools. This is how I flatten everything out. I don't even want the Rec 709 conversion because I've already converted here at the LUT. What I actually do is that I will go and I'll add film grain. I usually go with 65 millimeter. A lot of people like 35 millimeter, but I'm kind of getting out of that where it has just too much grain. I guess it was like a phase for me, so I decided to go more so with 65 just because I like how that looks. Then I'll go into halation, but I'll go into custom mode and I'll just mask it, and you can kind of see right here. And as you can see right here, I make my own adjustments to the halation. You can pretty much see right here where the halation is. And I think the biggest mistake with beginner colorists and people that color just for their social media is that they put on too much halation, like way too much. So what I do is I actually take the impact of it and I bring it down as low as possible to then just see it in just a little bit of shots. I don't want it like crazy because you can max it out and all that, but it doesn't end up looking good. So I'll do that, and because I actually didn't have a bloom filter, I'll also turn on my bloom. But same thing, a lot of people like to have their bloom like this and give this super dreamy look, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So what I do is I'll just play around with the impact to see kind of where I want to have it, and I'll just put it pretty low, honestly. Then I get into my next nodes. My next node is a DCTL. Now, a DCTL is what Davinci uses, allowing pretty much users of Davinci to create code to create their own, in quote, plugins. So this DCTL that I use is called Mono Nodes. So right now I'm in Mono Lab. One thing I just noticed it did for me turning it on was it actually flattened my image even more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take down the lift, because that's what initially did that. I'm gonna go to my waveform, see this is touching down here. I might actually go back into my whites and bring this back up. Kind of want it up here in the 800s as far as image wise, because I don't want to break it and just go completely past, but I want to kind of keep it right here around the 800s at the peak. So yeah, this pretty much does all that this does, honestly. It does what your primaries do. You can see a tone curve. I'm still learning the mono lab and the mono nodes. So I'll make a video breaking that down as I learn more of it. I'm just showing you guys, like I said, disclaimer, I am not a colorist. I could be doing this completely wrong, but this is how I achieve the look that you guys ask me how to achieve, or how I achieve. So then the next node that I'm going to be using, which is the most clutch node ever, the most clutch DCTL ever. And the best thing about this DCTL is that it is free. So this next DCTL that I use is called Tetra. When I turn on Tetra, what it pretty much does is what my curves do, my hue versus hue, all these curves, but it doesn't break the image. So for example, right, their skin tones live right in the reds. They live mostly in the reds. I don't know why I was about to say yellow, but what I'll go to the vector scope, and what I'll do is turn on, well, I already have it on, but if you don't have it on, turn on show skin tone indicator. This right here is where their skin tone is. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to zoom in, and what I'm gonna do is adjust their skin tone. So red versus red, as you can see, it's bringing in more of their skin. Red versus green is gonna be what is changing the hue. So as you can see, it is approaching right here. As it gets closer to the line, that's more accurate skin tones. Another cool thing is you see the greens here. What I can do is I can adjust the greens. So initially they looked a little more yellow, but what I wanted to do is bring all my greens more into a green quadrant. And as you can see, my greens have come in. You can see some blues in the sky, but I don't really touch those. But that's what's super cool about Tetra. Now, same with JP2499, this DRT. This is what I use. I want to add some more saturation in my image. So if I had it on all the way, I'm getting completely blown out saturation. But usually I just keep this as is. As the plugin came, that's what I use mostly for my saturation. I could use saturations here, but don't really like to. I'll go back into my mono lab, and then I will look and I will see that this green is there, of course. But to really emulate film, you want to get your green densities. So what I do is I actually increase my my green density, and I look what it does to the greens. It kind of mutes them a bit. Red densities is going to be for skin mainly. What I do is I give just a tiny bit. It depends. You can do 2-strip, which gives you 2-tone colors, as you can see the vector scope. You can do bleach bypasses, which increases a lot of contrast. But overall, this is how I achieve my looks. I still think this is a little too strong saturation-wise. And this is how I achieve my looks. So next, I'm just gonna show you guys how simple it is to get this look where you don't have to go through the whole node tree from beginning to end. Like I said, you grab your still and now you open up your next clip. So for example, I'm just gonna go through each of these clips and show you just minor adjustments that I would make just to get it how I would want it to look. So I apply it to this right here. This is honestly what I would keep it at, and I really wouldn't change anything. Let's go to this right here, apply grade. So yeah, all I would really adjust on this one specifically is probably shadows. I'd go down quite a bit more on my shadows and a little bit down on my highlights. And as you can see, very clean image, looks super smooth. Skin tones are all good. It's as simple as that. You have your power grade and it's really just one click from there. Like easy adjustments. I paste on this clip. Now for a shot like this, we are just super saturated, right? So what I'm gonna do at the end of this is I'm going to Option S, create a new node. I'm gonna grab my qualifier. I am going to select my skin. I'm gonna press Shift H. And what I'm gonna do is add our skin into it. And this is where majority of our like oversaturation is. So what I'm gonna do is in here, I'm actually going to add the DCTL. You may have thought I was gonna mess with the hue versus hue, but I'm gonna actually add another tetra specifically to this one. And what I'm gonna do is, you see how it's so far up the line? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring it down, and I'm gonna bring it more on to the line. So now, when I go back to it, now we got a cleaner image. So as you play through it, skin tones are a lot less saturated, and they look a lot better, as you can see. Now we're gonna go here, apply it to this one. Major adjustment, we're gonna go for shadows. Shadows are too dark. Highlights, go here. Another thing you can do is you can actually go into your exposure, go to your HDR, color space, set it to Rec 709, and then set your gamma to, I think we're doing RE log. So we'll do RE log C3. And what we're gonna do is actually up the exposure of the shadows here. And what that does is ups the exposure based off your color space. So this ends up looking super nice. We can do that over here. We can actually go into here now, and we can actually take down that exposure. This was a more dark image, and can play it through. Looks super nice. One thing I'll say is this right here is red. So what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna go into my Monolab DCTL. And what I'm gonna do is up the red density, get that red to be more of that real red. As you can see what it does, look at the red, before and after. It mutes the red a lot more, and it honestly complements so much better than that really, really bright red. I'm gonna go into another way that I grade. And this video is already super long in general. So for all of you guys that are still here, I appreciate you. I actually work off of CinePrint35 by Tom Bolles. One thing I do run in CinePrint, actually, let me go back to this here. And I'm gonna actually save an old one so that I can then explain to you guys what exactly I did. So one thing I've been kind of experimenting with recently is getting a specific look on my images. Before, I would see an image like this that is super blue and want to go in and white balance the whole image, where like I knew this wall was white, so I would turn the whole thing white and it would just kind of end up like this. Nowadays, what I want to do is actually keep images like this. I feel like these have a certain level of character to them. So what I did is the initial grade is everything that Tom Bolles uses in his power grades. So if you guys want the Tom Bolles film emulation power grade, it's going to be in my description below. Shout out to Tom actually for sending these for me to try out. Some adjustments that I made are by adding, you know, the Monolab DCTL dehancer twice actually, and one of the dehancers is for bloom and then the other one is for halation, and then adding tetra at the end. So that's pretty much what I did. What I will actually go do here is go back into my exposures and go into my HDR wheels, and I will just up the shadow. I'll actually no, I'll go down a little bit on the shadow, and I'll go up on the highlights just a tiny bit. Go up on the shadow just a little more. And so it creates an image that honestly like looks super good. Even though it's like completely blue, like sometimes you gotta mess with stuff like that. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna apply it, and it applies to each image differently. So this image, as you can see, I see a lot of green tint. There's like a green tint here. Like I said, what I could do is I could go here into my primaries and select what I remember to be white. It shifts over just a tiny bit. It was a warmer day. Honestly, images like this, I usually like straight out the gate. What I will do though is I will lift up some shadows and bring down some highlights. But yeah, no, honestly, images like this, I love. Images like this, I love. These ones are more like stylistic. So what I would do is just go in, bring this down. Honestly, this came out super clean. Very stylistic image. Everything's balanced here. And obviously you see it's super warm, but I can look back here and know that my colors are pretty good. Then I'd go here. What I'd do is probably drop it on here, see what that does. What I'll probably go do is lift up my shadows once again. Weddings, usually you want to get those a lot brighter This is actually me and Anna's wedding, so shameless plug again. Another wedding here. What I would do is bring down shadows, and I'd actually go into my HDR wheels, and I will bring my exposure of the shadows down quite a bit. Actually, no, I'll bring it back up. What I do want to do is bring the light down. And yeah, we got a really good image here. This is shot also on the FX9. Looks super movie-like. Come on. Tom Bolles colors straight out the gate already look amazing. So honestly, any readjustments and retouches I do are going to be, minimal. Like I said, I like playing with the looks, like this warm vintage look. I just love it. Like I said, could completely white balance it. Let's just show you guys what that looks like. I could completely white balance it by just clicking on her dress, and that actually brings it to what colors naturally were. It's really up to you what you want. I love how this came out. I was using Dual Lens here again. Shout out to Dual Lens. I use it here also. Here you could see the blues kind of coming out. So I knew that wall, this wall is white and her dress is white. So we'll just grab the wrong thing. Do it again. Yeah, there we go. This is really kind of what everything looked like in that specific moment. But yeah, no, like honestly, color grading is super fun. Definitely took me a while. I'm not one of the YouTubers out here that's gonna be like, oh, like I made this from scratch. Like, no, I got inspiration. Obviously inspired by Tom Bolles color grades and his power grades, as well as Film Vision. So many YouTubers that use it and try to sell it off as their own, but no, I give credit where credit is due. They definitely helped me out a lot as far as figuring out what I like and the image that I can get. And ultimately, like, color grading is good, but I've seen people just throw on phantom LUTs and they told a very good story and had great composition, and it looked just as good. Shout out to one of my friends that just got back from shooting a documentary in Uganda, and his composition and storytelling was so good, and he just used phantom LUTs, but at the end of the day, like, it's about story. So colors are amazing. It's honestly amazing, but if you don't have a good story, if you don't have good composition, if you don't make the right lens choices, then it's kind of all in vain, As I learn more about coloring, I will be following up and teaching you guys more and more. But yeah, that is the video so far. If you guys have any more questions as far as color grading, as far as what cameras I use, what lenses I use, I'm going to be dropping videos talking about the most recent lenses that I've been using, which is the ones that I've been using recently for these weddings. They've been the Dual Lens. So if you guys want a video on the Dual Lens, let me know. Leave a comment below on what other videos you guys want me to make. And this week, I'm gonna be filming a lot more videos. I have a lot of BTS to show you. We just shot a short film, and I'm gonna see if I have clearance to share it with you guys and show you guys some of the shots that we got before, the final product is out. I'll color it. And yeah, guys, if you guys have made it all the way to the end, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. You guys honestly motivate me and get me excited, to make videos to show you guys. I love teaching. I love, sharing things that took me super long to learn with you guys. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share it with a friend that wants to learn how to color grade. You can watch this video step by step. If you guys want these power grades, go and get them from Tom Bolles Film Vision, and then you guys can come watch this video once you've gotten them and apply what I've applied. Shout out to mono nodes. They are fire too. Dehancer, fire. A lot of my creative inspiration comes off of YouTube from a lot of people, So find your style, find what you enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.